Welcome to Therapy Facts with Dr. Jenn. Today we are talking about the Kirk Franklin documentary and the Kirk Franklin interview at Club Shay Shay. Point number two is there is often a gap between what we need and what we get in parenting, and there is usually no pound of flesh available for recompense. Woo, lots of words, right? Lots of big words. So, Kirk talked about how his mom and dad were not available to him regularly when he was a child. That in fact, his mom was 15 years old, and let's assume maybe his dad was around the same age when he was born, and that his mom gave him to a family friend who was aged and who raised him. Kirk talked about how his mom would come around 2 or 3 times a year and how he did not know who his father was. And so he talked about how he didn't have cousins or a lot of friends, and he felt like he was quite alone except for his relationship with God. So he describes that gap that he had between what his parents were able to provide and what he needed. And in his case, the gap for his parents was almost complete. That he said that his mother came and she provided, she would sometimes take him out and things like that, the once or twice a year that he saw her. However, the other times he felt very lonely and very sad, and he always wondered why couldn't he go with his mom permanently. So he had a big gap in terms of what he got and what he needed. Now, his adoptive mother provided what she could. She provided a roof over his head, and she made the sacrifices necessary to raise him up until age 20. However, the hole in his soul from his mom and dad was not met or filled by Miss Gertrude's love and care. And so, as a result, Kirk has always felt this hole, this emptiness. And he, in addition to the emptiness he felt, he wanted to be able to have some accountability, especially from his mother, about the hole in his soul. And so, one of the things that he required from her that she was never able to give him up until the documentary and even up until the interview is that she was never able to say accurately who his father was, even after he showed her DNA testing. And one of the things that she said to him that seemed to hit home is that she wanted to know whether her insistence that someone else was his father would drive a wedge between them. And Kirk's answer was yes, because his little boy Kirk needed the truth from his mother, and she was not able to give that to him. And as a result, Kirk said that he didn't have anything for her. Now, the challenge is that little boy Kirk is looking at things as a little boy. When things happen to us as children, when our soul gets a hole or our heart gets broken as a child, then it's we experience that situation first as a child and through the lens of a child. And very often we do not move away from that experience in terms of the childhood lens. And so, what we do in therapy is we help people to see the circumstance from the lens of a grown up. And so, for example, Kirk said that he is 53 years old. He is more than 3 times the age of the child that his mother was when she had him. He is older, which was older than she was when she lost her mother. And so, very often, when I am able to help people to see from an adult lens, especially what behavior was perpetrated by a child, by a 15-year-old, by a 19-year-old, by even a 21-year-old, there is some empathy gained where the person is able to stand back and say, wow, I really did expect a lot from this little person, from this kid, from this teenager. And even though when it happened, the person was a little kid themselves, and that teenager or young adult looked big, right? They looked like they were a big age. When the person who is grieving is able to look at the circumstance from the lens of an adult, they're able to have a little empathy, and they're able to say, you know what? My little person needed to hear this thing. However, I can see that maybe your big person is stuck at the little person you were when this first happened. And you neither have the capacity, the empathy, or the skill set to give my little person what he or she needed then or now. Because when a parent, let's be specific, has matured beyond the point of the mistake that they may have made as a younger parent, then the child, regardless of what the age is, does not have to beg for an explanation, for an apology, for accountability. When there has been emotional maturity beyond that trauma, there's no begging necessary. Now, the packaging and the format of the story, the accountability, the apology may not be exactly what the adult child needs or the recipient needs. It is still forthcoming. And so when you're in an experience where you are asking or begging a parent or caregiver to give you answers, to give you accountability, that typically means that that person is stuck emotionally at whatever age those events happen. And they do not have the pound of flesh that you are seeking. And so that requires you to grieve and process, forgive, and move forward without the apology, without the accountability that you so desire. However, when there is no pound of flesh to be had or to be given, you're not going to get it. And so you can save yourself and move yourself forward.